Okay, a soundbar fell into my lap, and it's the Hisense. Let me get a focus on here. There we go. It's the Hisense HS218, and all it does is gives you a clicking sound. Now, I tried to do a reset through the buttons here. Nothing really worked out. It just kept on clicking. It forced me to open the unit up and take the board out. I managed to look through this whole thing. So I found a couple of white spots around here, and then I found a couple of other white spots around there. See if I can get more focused. There we go. Found a few white spots there. And I thought I was on to something, quite possibly some water damage or something, but that wasn't the case. My suspicion is, I don't know if you can see those right here, these capacitors, they're bulged. One here and one here. Probably no longer any good, so I'm going to switch them and see if I can find some other ones here on the main power supply. So I'm going to place those and see if I can get this unit to fire up again. So it's a few weeks later, and I got some parts in, and I got some of the high-speed capacitors. We're just going to try this. I'm going to take these guys off and resolder them. So I'm going to start to remove the board on top here. Nothing else is going to be in the way here. Okay, I think I got them all. Want to be careful not to tear anything off. See if I can get this guy off. There we go. Now, what do I have to do to get to this, the other boards here? Well, this looks like some type of insulator board. And to get to this one, I have to remove a couple more screws here. And now see if this comes out. No, it does not want to come out. I don't want to reef on it. It feels like something else is holding it back. That's moving. Oh, here we go. Okay, it's a very, very tight fit. There we go, got it. Okay, so this board here doesn't look too bad at all. And I got my fingers crossed that once I replace these two capacitors, the switching power supply, that's what this is, will start to work again. So let's get the microscope out so you can see what I'm doing, and I'll desolder the capacitors and replace them. Okay, getting some flux on the board here. That's one of the capacitors, and I'm pretty sure these are the 2 points for the other one. Just having a quick look to verify, and yeah, that's it. So now I'm just going to get some solder that's a little bit lower melting point. Now this is a leaded solder, leaded tin. I think this one is a 6337, which has been very popular for years and years and years. I've been using this stuff forever. It works really well with this lead-free solder that has a higher melting point. When you mix it, it lowers the melting point, and you can get your components off the board a lot quicker. So out with a little bit of wick. Hopefully it's going to melt up a little quicker. And there we go, starting to suck up all the solder. And we'll go to the other side of the capacitor. And the wick is starting to do its magic. I'll move it down just a little bit. And yeah, there we go. So everything is off of there. And I'll try to wiggle it off now. Seems like just a little bit is stuck on there. Just wick it again. And try to wiggle it off. It won't come up. Then I found out that this stuff here, I don't know if it's silicone or something, it kept the capacitor down, so I couldn't wiggle it out. So I got the new one in. I'm just going to solder it down, do one leg at a time. Looks like I need a little bit more there. So now let's do the other capacitor. Get some solder on there. Get some wick. This one's a little more difficult. I don't know why. I used the same solder on there, and it wouldn't come up. It's really frustrating. You feel you got a system down, and then the stuff just doesn't want to come up. Okay, got them freed up. And this time I learned, I picked away some of this, I don't know if it's silicone or some other kind of epoxy it's holding the capacitors in place. Made sure I put my capacitor in the right way, negative on the bottom there. Spread out the legs a little bit so the capacitor won't fall through the board. I'll flux it now. And let's we'll get some solder and let's go to work. Those joints look pretty good, nice and shiny. Cut up the leads. So get the isopropyl out, clean it. And that's it. Looks pretty good. I like it. Pretty happy with that. Surgery complete. I'll show you the capacitors in just a second. I am putting some hot glue down to put back some of the sticky stuff that's here. But definitely they don't want the parts to move. Just show you the old capacitors. Let me get a little closer. Let me focus in. There we go. Yeah, you can see that clearly there. It's bulged. So in this one here, I'll show you that too. You can see there the top is bulged right there. I'll show you quickly what I got done here. I sort of hooked it up temporarily. It goes against my better judgment. I should be checking out the soundboard, but I figured with the capacitors we'll see where we are and where we stand. So I'm going to try turning it on right now. Let's see if we can get it to go. Doesn't look like it. It's going. Right here is where it'll light up and say if it's in standby or if it's turned on. Let me try one more time. Aim it a different way. No. Okay, I'm going to have to investigate the soundboard and see what's going on. I started testing the soundboard and it was really challenging because a lot of the components are all clustered together. And it's really difficult when you have to get a soldering iron in there. And I ended up using a fine tip, which was not a good idea. I should have actually used something a little larger. What ended up happening with the fine tip, every time I tried to remove something and put it back on, I ended up staying on the board longer with heat because the soldering tip, being so fine, doesn't have a big heat mass and it doesn't warm up the solder quickly. So that's one thing I learned. In the future, I'm going to be using a little bit larger soldering tip. Regardless, first thing I started doing was I started testing the board for shorted SMD capacitors. So I went through almost all of them. Some of them I desoldered and put them back on, and I could not find it. Then I decided to test the larger capacitors. I pulled them out of the board, put them in the tester, and quite a few of them ended up being bad. So I decided, since there's not that many of them, I might as well just replace them all. So this one was bad. This one was bad. I found this one here also to be bad. So I got them all out and I figured, okay, now I got these components out and capacitors and everything should clear itself, and nope. Still, as soon as I plugged in the 24-volt supply, it would go to 0. At this point of the troubleshooting process, now I had to start looking at all the ICs on board and trying to find out which ones were bad. I jumped onto Google to see if I could find a schematic for the board. No such luck. Then my next step was to try and find some kind of forums, and I seemed to be on the right track. A lot of people found the same thing I did. The capacitors on the power supply were bulged, and one thing that came up more than once was the voltage regulator chip on some people's boards blew. And the second thing everyone seemed to be in consensus was the audio chip blows up on the board. So first thing I did was I started checking out the voltage regulator, and that is the 3284H, and I found that this is not a voltage regulator chip, but a DC to DC converter, so it can take a higher voltage. In this case, it's going to be the 24 volts I was getting off the power supply, and convert it down to either 3.3 or 5 volts. So I kept looking at the datasheet trying to find a sample circuit, and the one I found seems to be the same one that they've used here on the board. So I grabbed my multimeter and began testing the chip. I lifted a few of the pins off of it, and I was getting resistance values. Nothing was shorted, and it led me to believe this chip's still good. Then I moved on to the audio circuit. I had a look at the datasheet for the audio chip. It takes digital signals, converts them to analog sound, and then puts it through an amplifier that's capable of 30 watts per channel. And if you want to, you can take this chip and make it a mono amplifier and have 60 watts per channel. Now, one of the things everyone mentioned was that the audio chip had blown traces on the board, and that's why they replaced it. When I checked out my board, there were no blown traces. And taking off this red heatsink, this thing is a pain in the butt to get off the board. I checked other sections of the board, but couldn't find the short. I thought to myself, by replacing the bad capacitors and finding that the DC to DC converter chip was okay, the soundboard would act differently than when I first started troubleshooting it. So I put the soundbar back together temporarily so I could test it, and turned it on. That was not a good idea. Before I could do any troubleshooting, the sound chip blew, along with a few of the traces. And that's what some other people reported on the internet when they tried to repair this soundbar. They claimed that their chip blew up and there were traces blown all over the board. A lot worse than what I had. Making more work for yourself is not a good thing. I bought a chip and started to do the repair. I added some lower melting point solder to the chip. Then I added some flux to make it easier to remove. And finally I put the heat gun to it to apply some heat and melt the solder. I removed the sound chip, tested the board, and surprise, surprise, the short disappeared. I just should have done monkey see, monkey do and replaced the sound chip like other people mentioned. I installed the new chip, and then I began to repair the traces that blew off. And then I tried to repair the traces again. And I tried to repair the traces again. And I tried to repair the traces again. Until I finally got it to stick to the trace. And then I got the other end to stick to the chip. Then I noticed by doing all this soldering, a couple of the capacitors had broken. I had to desolder some other capacitors beside it to figure out what the value was, and in doing so, the whole job went downhill from there. Traces started to lift off the board, other components started to desolder themselves, and I packed it in. I got that trumpet player pretty cheap. Well, the repair didn't go as planned, and I almost deleted the video footage, but where's the fun in that, huh? I decided to post it to show what a real failed repair looks like. I'm relatively new to SMD soldering, and while the repair was a total loss, I came away with some experience. Let me tell you what I learned. I'm going to start using a larger soldering tip. More thermal mass means hotter solder, which makes the components removal faster and reduces the chance of lifting traces the way I did. The other thing I need to do is protect the areas I'm not soldering on. I accidentally lifted the wrong components, melted a bunch of plastic, not good. Someone recommended aluminum tape to shield the areas that I'm not working on. The other thing I also learned on this board is how to deal with boards that actually suck up the heat. This is an audio board, and I'm almost pretty sure the bottom layer is a ground plane, which took heat away from the components I was trying to desolder. Then that caused me to leave the soldering iron on the board for a longer period of time, and the traces lifted off the board. What a mess. Not sure what I could do about that. Maybe I could preheat the board ahead of time. If you have any ideas, let me know. I'd appreciate it. And the last big lesson I'm taking away from this repair: electricity travels at the speed of light, and smoke follows just as fast. Woo! That was terrible what happened to that chip. I'll never power up a board again knowing it's not fully repaired. If I see that there's something wrong, I gotta figure out a way to test the board without applying full power to it. Maybe I'll invest in one of those power supplies. Let me know if you got some ideas to help me out here. Besides the experience, another good thing did come out of this repair. I got a bunch of donor boards with components I can use in future projects. I had to make myself feel good somehow. I put all this work into it. I just want to see now that I fixed up the power supply back here with all the capacitors, and I took off the short, which was that audio IC. I want to see what's going to happen. I mean, I got nothing to lose here. So I'm going to, let me get the cord here and power it up. And let's see. Well, looks like nothing on the display. Oh, no, I got something. Got a little light here. You can see that. Let me get the remote. And we'll just hit power on. Oh, you believe that? So close. Does this thing actually work? Let's go to source. Optical, yep. COA. ARC, which would talk to other TVs through the HDMI cable. USB, line in. So close, so close. Had I not had that bit of an issue with the soldering on the audio chip, who knows? I may have had a sound bar. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.